Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 32 of the Carrie Rolled On Show. You may notice that you are watching me on a day that I don't generally do my shows, and that's because today's episode is a special edition. Because sometimes I meet somebody who I just get really excited about and know that I have to interview them, and I have to interview them now. And that was the case with today's guest, RoseAnne Janzen. So I just decided to go ahead and do it. And I'm posting this episode on an unusual day for me, but hopefully it meets you exactly at the right time, in the right space, in the moment that you needed to be met with this information. So if you don't know already, this is the Carrie Rolled On Show. I am your host, Carrie Rolled On. And in this show, we spend 30 minutes or so a week having conversations that matter to the entrepreneur's body, mind, and business. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a runner, I'm a best-selling author, I'm a personal growth junkie, and a product launch Wonder Woman. And I'm your total business BFF, which if you don't know stands for Best Friend Forever. I fancy myself an intuitive business muse, and I help entrepreneurs to find their niche, create an offer that truly serves that niche, and launch it online authentically and profitably, because that is important. We make it fast, fun, and easy to add more value to what you're already doing, as well as to add multiple streams of income to your current business model. And if this sounds like something that you needed like yesterday, let's chat. Probably the best way to get a hold of me in the month of May, however, since I'm not doing strategy sessions this month, is to go ahead and head on over to carrierolledon.com/ebook. You can download my free ebook entitled Get Where You're Going, Girlfriend, 6 Steps to Actually Achieving Your Outrageous Goals. And it'll guide you through the 6 steps, and by the time you're done with those, I'll be ready to have strategy sessions again, and I'm guessing it will be perfect timing for you. And it will tell you how, there's an email autoresponder, so by the time you get to step number 6, it will teach you how to get a hold of me for that strategy session. Okay, so I created the Carrie Rolled On Show because I have stumbled, and I continue to, on my entrepreneurial journey, because the road to success thus far has been full of potholes, detours, and dead ends, not to mention self-doubt, fear, worry, debt, marital tension, and personal struggle. I wanted to share what I continue to learn on my journey in the hopes that it will help you guys too. Because let's face it, online entrepreneurhood can be a really, really, really lonely place, and I'm on a mission to help us connect. Okay, so today's topic that I'm so excited about is just authenticity and what that really is. So it's interesting because one of the things that I've been told about my show, and from those of you who watch regularly, is that it's just so great to watch me and my guest be 100% genuine and authentic, and for the most part, agendaless. The previous guests from my show can vouch for the fact that there's very little behind my show in the terms of scripting beyond, well, what do we want to talk about today? What's the one important pressing question? And that's pretty much it. And we let the conversation go where it goes, and we do that in a really authentic way. But here's the thing about this word, authenticity, is when I met RoseAnne Janzen and she said she was an authenticity expert, I was immediately excited by that. Partly because as I've been going through my business, kind of trying to figure out what it is I want to help people with, what it is I want to teach people, that word kept coming up. It feels easy for me to be authentic, and it was one of those things I thought, how could I teach someone else to do this? But as I tried to create a program around being authentic, I just felt like I was banging my head against a wall because I thought, at least in the way that I perceived it, I thought this isn't something that can necessarily be taught. It feels to me, or it felt to me like it's just about being yourself. That's it. You just be yourself. How do you teach being yourself? And then I met RoseAnne, and we had a conversation that last week that kind of blew my mind and also just felt so good, which is why I said, oh my gosh, I need to have you on my show, and we need to talk about this, because clearly what I thought authenticity was, in terms of just be yourself, just act like who you are, which to me feels like, I think the way that I want to say this is like behave within your personality, to the way RoseAnne described it to me, which is, oh, that feels better. So that's what we're going to talk about today, is what authenticity really, really, really is, and how to operate from that place. So let me tell you a little bit about RoseAnne, and I'm just going to read her bio to you, so excuse me while I avert my eyes. But RoseAnne Janzen, actually, before I read the bio, I will say that we met like a year ago virtually, and we were commenting on each other's stuff, and we've like run around in the same circles for quite some time, but we didn't actually meet, like have a face-to-face conversation via Hangout until a week ago. And when we had that conversation, I thought, how have we not met sooner? So I think that might be the reason for this just special show, is definitely when I met RoseAnne Janzen, felt connected to her message. I'm really excited to share her. Okay, now her bio. So RoseAnne Janzen is an authenticity advisor who helps intuitive entrepreneurs and creatives to move into their authenticity so that they're operating from their highest place of power, peace, and impact. She uses all her psychic abilities, yes, I said psychic abilities, professional training, and divine connection to determine exactly what her clients need to take them to their next level, to integrate that fully into their lives, and so they are living in their true power and from their authentic divine self. All the time, in all situations, with all people. How good does that sound, by the way? So RoseAnne started using her abilities while working in finance and corporate, and further honed them working as a professional artist while growing her coaching and advisory business. So before I put RoseAnne on the screen, who's been waiting patiently while I blabber on, I just wanted to say that it is one of my favorite things when I meet someone who is labeled as a psychic and who doesn't fit my biased opinion of what that's supposed to be. Like I was telling RoseAnne in the green room, when someone says they're psychic, I conjure images of, like, you know, a crystal ball reading gypsies / Professor Trelawney from Harry Potter. Like, so I don't know why it continues to surprise me, but when someone is psychic and comes from corporate, I picture this, like, I don't know, pencil skirt and blazer person, but it doesn't fit in line with my idea of what it means to be psychic. So I just think that's fun and interesting. And so RoseAnne, I'm going to click away I'm clicking in all the wrong places. I'm putting your face on the screen, and I just want to say hello and welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here.
Hi, Carrie. Thank you. It's so nice to be here with you, and I'm so glad that we finally connected. I love the energy of your show, and I love your energy.
Oh, we'll see. Now, coming from you, someone who like pays special attention to energy, that is a huge compliment. So thank you. All right. So here's my first question, because I think it's a good place to start, and it is, how in the heck did you get here? I guess I want to know, were you psychic from birth? How did you become psychic? How did you wind up in corporate? And how did you wind up all the way now over here helping people live from authenticity? That's a loaded question.
Yeah, that covers a lot of ground. Yeah, you know, like I've always talked to God. I always saw things, and as I got older, I kind of got scared of that. And you know, it's not really talked about or accepted, especially in my age. And so I just kind of put that aside. And you know, TV made it into a big scary thing, and yeah, you know, we're not taught how to handle it, so it just kind of went underground. But then when I, you know, was out working on my own, and I was a portfolio manager in a national brokerage firm, And I noticed that the way I made decisions based on my intuition and was the way that the top people in all fields in the world worked. They operated like that. And they let it, like, they didn't hide it. And I'm thinking, like, well, geez, all these people are openly, like, what we would call psychic now. And people just thought, oh, you know, that's their funny quirk. But it's not. Like, we all have these amazing abilities, and we should be using them, you know, like we should be developing them. And so that's what I want to teach people, is how to pay attention to those innate abilities in us and how to use them for all the good that we can do in the world and in our businesses, and to enhance our lives, and to actually live from our authentic divine self. So, you know, the psychic and the intuition and all these things that kind of we let operate behind the scenes, they should be coming to the forward and actually informing our actions, so that when they're both in balance and in line, then everything is easy and congruent. Totally amazing.
Sorry, I was trying to, so full disclosure, I forgot to put my dog out today, so if you guys hear barking, that is Sweet Socks, my dog, who tends to bark at whoever walks by the house. So apologies there. But okay, so you said a few things that are a little bit mind-blowing to me. So the first one is, well, one, that you said everyone in corporate, the top players, were psychic, right? And I just had a conversation last week or the week before with Cynthia Carrere, where we were talking about the third chakra and trusting your gut. And we actually talked about that, how, you know, people, it is totally acceptable for people to say, well, I just felt it in my gut. Like, that we seem to, all of us, understand that phrase. But to say, well, I tapped into my intuition or I tapped into my psychic abilities, that seems a little out there, or a little, like, uncomfortable, even for the people who are doing it, even for those top executives who just say, well, I just had a gut feeling, wouldn't self-identify as psychic. So maybe I want to start, that's a good place, because I promise we'll get to how this psychic conversation has something to do with being authentic. But is it the same thing?
Psychic it's a really big category. You know, like, we do embrace some of it, like our intuition, our gut feeling, but, you know, then when you start developing them and accepting them, then you start seeing auras, and you start hearing the voice in your head. You know, you start paying attention to that voice. If you hear things, you might see things, this really goes a long ways, because once you start into the knowledge that everything is one, that there is no time or space, then you know that everything is right here. And so, you know, the spirit world is right here, our ancestors are right here, everything is right here, the future is here, the past is here, it's all here to be seen. And so if you open yourself, if you get past the fear of what you might see, and you know who you really are, then you know that you can safely see this stuff and handle it, and that it can help you. It doesn't have to be a fear thing. So there's a whole pile of learning there that really we should be teaching children, and a whole lot of how to use energy too, because our society, we tend to take energy from each other. And so if we teach our children and ourselves that there's unlimited energy, then we can get out of this place where we're struggling with each other and just having competition, right? Because that's what competition is all about, taking each other's energy. And when we get out of that mode, then everything changes, and we can actually work to help each other and raise each other in the most natural and easy way, rather than competing and fighting with each other. And yeah.
So I like what you're saying about moving away from competition, and I think that that's something that so many of us who consider ourselves heart-centered, and at the time that you guys are watching this, I will have just had Allison McKenzie on the show, who has talked a lot about what that really means, what it means to be heart-centered. So I totally forgot when I started talking about Allison McKenzie. I totally forgot where I was going with the heart-centeredness. Can you backtrack me? Do you remember how I started that sentence?
Energy. Energy was the last, and competition.
Competition. Thank you. So, so I like what you're saying about that, because I think that is the way that heart-centered business is moving, right? We come from a place of understanding. There's more than enough for all of us. There's more than enough clients for all of us. There's, just if you make a lot of money, it doesn't mean that you're taking potential money away from me. Like, I think a lot of us understand that concept. But you just made a huge leap about, at least in my brain, and perhaps the brain of a lot of my viewers, and I'm getting the energy thing, like all of that sounds good. But you stretched me a little bit too far in that, or maybe I'm having trouble understanding what is the future is here, the past is here, all of that. Like, what does that have to do with standing in what I want to say, standing in our truth, what is our true authenticity, right? Because we started the show talking about authenticity. Maybe I didn't articulate this well at the beginning of the show, but to be authentic is more than just to be yourself in the terms of your personality. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah, we tend to think of being authentic as just being genuine and just letting it all out, being our personality. But what we don't realize is that you can change your personality in an instant, right? Actors do it all the time. It's not a big thing. We've learned so much from people who have multiple personality disorder, right? When you change your personality, everything changes, even your physiology, and your medical conditions change. Everything changes. So personality is not authenticity. Okay? So when you learn who you really are and how amazing that is, then that puts you into a whole new realm. And that changes how you perceive the world and how your understanding of how the world actually works. And from that place of understanding, that's where you can actually change your life, right? That's where it's easy to change your mind. It's easy to see what you need to do in any situation in order to have the best possible outcome for everyone. And yeah, it's a whole shift in perception. And part of that shift in perception brings in this understanding that everything is here and everything is one, and what you want is actually, it's already here. You just have to accept it, basically.
Okay, so you just said some like hot phrases for me. So the first is shift in perception, because that is the way that A Course in Miracles defines a miracle. And it is something that I've done in my life lots and lots of times over the past 10 years, right? So a little backstory just on me is that after I became a stay-at-home mom, after I quit my job to be home with my first baby, I felt myself awakening, right? I mean, I think becoming a mom like changes your perspective, and staying at home changed my perspective, but suddenly I was interested in things that I hadn't been interested before, and I was definitely growing personally and spiritually, but I struggled with that for a long time because I felt like I had already decided who I was, and now I was making different choices. Like I had this weird thing where I felt like my personality is changing, but is that really okay because I have this personality? Is that making any sense at all?
Yeah, I mean, I spent most of my life trying to figure out who the heck I was, right? My family history is in retail, so I thought, well, I must be good at business, so I did that. In school, I was good at everything, academic and sports and everything, so I tried all different things. I tried to define myself in all kinds of ways, right? And especially in corporate, I thought, ooh, you know, like I felt important, right? And, you know, there I was handling millions of dollars, and I'm like, oh, I must, you know, I must really be something, right? But then when I left that, my perception changed, and I realized how false that is. You know, it's just, it doesn't mean anything at all. And so when you have those changes in your life, they tend to make you, force you to pay attention and evaluate who you are and go farther to find out what's really there. And I mean, that's the questions we're all born with, right? Who are we? Why are we here? And yeah.
It's so true. And I just realized that as you guys are watching, you're seeing the top of my laptop, so I'm moving that down so that it's not it's not in your view. I was looking at my screen going, what is that down there? But it was my laptop. So okay, so I just found that was such a struggle for me, and I'm glad to hear that it was a struggle for you. And I think so maybe the crux of what you're saying with authenticity is that it is about aligning with your spiritual truth. Am I, and maybe even me trying to find the words for it is inadequate, but aligning with that, all of that isness, and operating from that space. Is that it?
Well, actually, you know, what I do for people is I take them to the place where they actually meet their divine self, their authentic divine self. And so then the goal is to actually have that inform everything that you do here. And that's when you get the magic. That's when things, the miracles, the things happen, and the perception, your perception changes. And meet.
Oh, RoseAnne, you froze on my screen. I'm not sure. Am I frozen on yours, or can you see and hear me? Oh, she's disappeared. So, RoseAnne, if you can see and hear me, just want to hop out of the Hangout and then hop back in, and all of your technical problems, or they could be on my end, could be solved. So I'm going to say that again, just because I know you may not have recognized that you are frozen, or you may not have recognized that I am frozen. So just hop out of the Hangout and then hop right back in. But for those of you who are watching this Hangout Live, I'm interested to get your comments and your feedback right now in terms of what does authenticity mean for you, and also that the next question that I was going to ask RoseAnne was, okay, so we meet our divine self. What does that mean? Who is that divine self? Is that our higher self? Is that our Christ consciousness? Is that, like, what is that? Because so many times when we're having a conversation like this, when we're having a conversation that starts using these terms, right? The term psychic, or intuitive, or higher self, divine self, I feel like so many people get hung up on their belief systems and their current vocabulary to describe that, all that isness, and we really lose, because we get stuck on our own opinions, we get stuck on our own biases, and we really lose the big point, right? The connection to the all that isness. So while I patiently wait for RoseAnne to come back, I would like to direct you guys all to the link in my lower third, because I think that you guys are all going to be really interested in this, because if what RoseAnne is saying resonates with you, if you are recognizing, like, oh yeah, I'm starting to connect more and more with my intuition. I see RoseAnne is back now. And I'm wanting to explore this further. I'm wanting to really connect with, I want to operate from that place that we talked about, right? That your power, your peace, and making the most impact. You're going to want to go to carrieroldon.com /authenticity. So RoseAnne, I see that you're back. I've just been sort of blabbering on and on about the fact that I think so many times we get hung up on a lot of the words you just used. Like you used some words like divine self, which I think a lot of people will go, well, who is that? Well, what is that? And I'll let you start there, actually, but I also did go ahead and give the link, and I'd like you to describe what that is and where it goes. So start with divine self, and then we'll talk about the link that I just gave.
Okay, thanks. Sorry about that. My internet went down.
It's okay.
Yeah, living in Canada. Our divine self, well, we all know that we're more, right? We all have that feeling that we're more than just this body. And so connecting with your divine self, your authentic divine self, means that you're connecting with that oneness, that wholeness that is out there, that God or whatever all that is, whatever you want to call it. You're connecting with that. And you are part of that, right? So then what I actually teach, and like I have the series coming up here, where if you follow that link that Carrie gave you, it will take you to an interview series of some pretty amazing people talking about authenticity. And they're from startup entrepreneurs to seven-figure entrepreneurs, all talking about how important it is to be your authentic self. And in there, there's a webinar also talking about power, peace, and impact, and how authenticity will actually give you all those things. And so I offer my program, Reclaim Your Spirit, in which I take you on the journey from actually meeting your authentic divine self, experiencing your authentic divine self, and bringing that experience back all the time, so that more and more and more of your life comes into alignment with that, with your authentic self. And as more and more of your entire life comes into alignment, everything changes. Everything becomes easier, more in the flow, in all the different parts of your life. So, and the goal is to live 100% of the time from your authentic divine self, to have that informing all your actions, all your choices. And hopefully, if we get the whole world doing that, it'll be amazing.
Well, you know what? I mean, it could just be where I am in my life and business, but I certainly see that those of you who have been watching regularly can attest to what's been happening on my show, right? Is that when the Carrie Rolled On show started, it was all sorts of things. It was things that I thought were important to people like me. And I started out talking to mompreneurs because I'm a mompreneur, and I thought, well, if it's relevant to me, it's relevant to them. And as I have been doing the work that RoseAnne is talking about, right, I've been really making it my intention to align with my divine self, right? I talk about getting into alignment all the time. That this and being okay, right, with what comes out of that. I have found that I am absolutely living from that place that we're talking about, right? The power, the peace, the impact. And it started before I started the Carrie Rolled On show. Like, those of you who know me know that this show was a really important part of me living in my power and making impact. And it was scary to get started, right? But something about it felt right. There was an inner alignment about doing this show, even though I didn't yet know where it was going to go. And now I do recognize that I'm rambling a little bit. So I want to throw it back to you, RoseAnne, and just ask you to comment on that. And then, because I think where my question wants to go is, okay, I think that's great. I think that's great for everyone to live from a place of alignment. But at least to me, it seems especially important for those of us who are trying to earn a living as entrepreneurs. So can you talk briefly about that?
Yeah, it absolutely is. You have to be authentic. And like you talked about the fear, right? That's a huge part of it, is the fear stops us. But, you know, and an interesting thing that just really came to me is part of being an internet business is that it helps you get past that fear faster. And so that's a really interesting thing to think about. Even though we're live or we're recorded and people can see us, but somehow it makes it easier to get out there and to be authentic. And the more you can do it, the more you can practice being authentic, the easier it is to do that with people face to face too. And see, because we're so afraid of everybody criticizing us and, thinking that, we're not good enough and all that stuff. But when you actually practice it and do it in your business, it becomes easier in every part of your life too. And it's interesting, Carrie, like I've been watching you for a whole year, right? And you started with the mompreneur thing, and I'm like, oh no, she's way more than that. I wanted, I'm not a mom. I want all this stuff that she's talking about and all these people, and she should be expanding and going farther than that. And here you are now, right? You paid attention to that little voice, right? And you're moving, in to help the whole world, which is what you need to do.
When you say it like that, it does sound a little bit scary, but there's also, right, that intuitive voice within me knows that is true. And that was hard for me as someone, we're probably going over on time here, but as someone who understands the concept of really needing, in order to speak to your soul tribe, you actually have to niche down, right, so that you're using their language. And I'm really proficient in helping other people do that. And so that's what I thought I was doing with the mompreneurs. But and before mompreneurs, I was doing it with runners, right? I felt there was something that went, okay, I can speak to these people. I speak their language. I know what's up. I can be authentic with them, at least personality-wise, right? But there was something in each of those things that felt a little bit restrictive. But it was very hard for me to just decide to speak to entrepreneurs, because that sounds like too big of a niche, right? But when I did that, when I just listened to my intuition and said, nope, your mission is bigger, it's entrepreneurs, said, okay, it's entrepreneurs. And then my show just sort of started to take a turn, right? It started to go, the people who I was attracting, the conversations that I was having, the things that became really interesting to me were these kinds of conversations, right? The heart-centered entrepreneurs, the soul-centered entrepreneurs, the people whose businesses were birthed out of answering that call of their soul. And as I'm finding, and actually, RoseAnne, you guys, this is so weird. When I first talked to RoseAnne, she told me, you're going to start attracting more and more people like me, these intuitive people. And sure enough, I mean, no sooner had she spoken it than like they just started flying out of the woodwork. And so it is, at least for me, it's all about just standing in that, paying attention to that, and standing in that and not being afraid that, all right, maybe I'm here to serve these intuitive entrepreneurs, but ultimately knowing I'm here to serve, and I'm just going to keep following, I guess, following the breadcrumbs, right, following the unfolding. So I'm sure we're over time now, so I want to send it back to you. I want to make sure that you talk a little bit more about the interview series and who you're featuring, and just really, I would like you to get people excited. No pressure here. I want you to get people excited about clicking that link. So again, the link is carrieroldan.com/authenticity. But for the very first step in that interview series, what is it that's going to get us excited about listening to those interviews?
Oh boy, the people that are on, we've got Rachel Archelaus, Rich German, like we all know Rich, right? And amazing. Fia-Lynn Crandall, Wendy Bodin, and these are people who have created, 6- and 7-figure businesses based on their authentic divine self, on their intuition, on their psychic abilities. And these people are going to give you tips, and they're going to tell you, their story. And the trouble they had, the things that they overcame and had to face and say, oh, wait a minute, I'm more than that. You know, I can handle that. I can change that, and I can do what I want. I can do whatever I want. And that's pretty amazing because these people, I'm telling you, they're going places. Fia-Lynn, Crandall, and Rachel Archelaus, their business is expanding like at the speed of light. It's just amazing to watch them. And they're coming, like they're 100% authentic. Yeah. And so, yeah, these are the people you want to talk to, you want to model, you want to pay attention and find out just exactly what it's about and what you can do. Yeah.
Well, and here's what I love about your speakers is I don't know Wendy, but I don't know Fia-Lynn well, but I know Fia-Lynn a little bit. And what I love about your speakers is Fia-Lynn and Rachel they're like out there. I earn my living with my psychic abilities, right?
Yeah.
But Rich he's the creator of the Joint Venture Insider Circle, and I know him as a highly intuitive person, and after creating Joint Venture Insider Circle, he's now doing some amazing, really passionate, soul-centered work with regard to the ocean. But he's not someone who you would look at him or read about him and go, oh, he earns his living off his intuitive abilities, right? You wouldn't initially make that connection about Rich. So I think that's kind of neat. And yeah, I don't know Wendy at all. So tell me about Wendy.
Oh boy, if you think your life has been up and down and hard, boy, she has faced some incredible stuff, and yet she knows how to deal with it. And she's going to tell you how to do that. You know, whatever comes your way, you can deal with it. And yeah, she's been through, bankruptcy and divorce and, death in their family and all kinds of things that, and it's all these things happening to one person. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, how did you deal with all that? How do you do all this stuff, right? And the thing too that a lot of us are facing now is caring for parents, and Wendy's in that space too. And so she's got a lot of tips to share for you with how to deal with everyday life and all this stuff that happens.
And doing it from that place that you're talking about, right? Power, peace, and impact. I just think
that's right.
As I say those words, I breathe more deeply.
And I want to tell you too, I think when we first talked, we talked about, oh no, the name went out of my head, Virgin Radio, Virgin Airlines.
Oh yeah, Richard Branson.
Yeah, and Rich German, right? They don't make a big deal of being authentic or anything, but they just exude it, right? They they live it. And it informs everything that they do.
Yep.
Whatever it is, it doesn't have to be a big. It doesn't have to be a big weird thing, right? It's everyday life. It's bringing that authenticity into our everyday life to inform everything that we do.
Well, and so I'm gonna close the show with this. First, please, everyone, do not forget to go to carrieroldan.com/authenticity to register for that interview series, because as I told you, I told RoseAnne to get you guys excited, and she at the very least got me excited about listening to the speakers who she has on that series. But it is a conversation I had a while back with John Jerkowitz, who is another Google Pluser, and I think we had this conversation off air, but he said the phrase, well, I don't want to offend anyone. Maybe we said it on air. And I said, oh my gosh, you have to, in the sense that you have to just go ahead and be you and be authentic and be aligned and say what it is that, like, don't water down your message for fear of wanting to offend someone, because, and I'm thinking about Rich German when I talk about this, because I think, you're always there's going to be people who get turned off by your authenticness, and that's okay. They're not your soul tribe. They're not the people who you are necessarily here to serve, or they just don't resonate with the level, the vibration that you're on. They're not resonating there, and that's okay. But if you don't live from your place of authenticity and alignment, you're not going to attract the people you are meant to serve. And I said I was going to close the show with that, but RoseAnne, do you have comment on that?
Yeah, not everybody's ready, right? We're all at different places at our development. I've been waiting for this like for 50 years, right? I've been, sitting on my thumbs and, knowing that I was supposed to do something more. And now the time is right. So when the time is right, you know it, and you'll look for it, and you'll find it. Right? When you're ready, the teacher will appear, right? And so on that note.
Yes. Ooh, that is good. So if you are ready, RoseAnne very well may be the teacher. I had trouble with getting those words out. May be the teacher for you. If you are ready, if you're feeling that, your teacher may have just appeared in the form of RoseAnne Janzen. So I just encourage everybody to click that link below, carrierworldon.com/authenticity. RoseAnne, thank you so much for being here and doing this like impromptu interview just because I felt aligned and I felt like we had to do it.
Oh, thank you, Carrie. It's wonderful talking to you.
Oh, you too. So everybody, thank you so much for staying with us for the extra few minutes of this show. We so appreciate it. Please, please, please leave your comments. Many of you are watching this on YouTube. I am really interested in the conversation around this show. So leave your comments. Let me know what you're thinking and feeling. And of course, register for that interview series because it's going to be good. If you don't know, I don't know Wendy, so I need to register just so I can learn more about Wendy, but the speakers that she has are the ones that I know. Each of them have truly inspired me and been a guide and a leader on my journey. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Go to carrierworldon.com/authenticity, and here's a great big virtual hug from me, and we'll see you normal time, normal day, Wednesdays at 10:30 a.m. Pacific for the next episode of the Carrie Roldan Show. I'll see you then, guys.